Dallas, apparently, according to multiple reports, and this is all speculation, Jeanty wants Jeanty. It's supposed to be, there you go. Dallas wants Jeanty. T. Higgins to be tagged tomorrow by the Bengals. We got a lot to talk about. We've talked a lot already about T. Higgins. We can still talk about it. But Ashton Jeanty is our dream come true landing spot is the Dallas Cowboys. So what are we hearing? Why do we think Dallas is going to attack Jeanty? Will he even fall past Chicago? We'll break all that down and more. The Fantasy Football Show, Ashton Jeanty, T. Higgins Show begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
Breaking news. This is a speculative piece, but it gives us some amazing conversation to kick around because, look, there probably is no better topic in the offseason at the running back position than where does Ashton Jeanty land? Where does this potential top 5 running back in fantasy football, even as a rookie, he could be top 5. Where does Ashton Jeanty fall? Does he go as high as 5 to the Raiders? Could. If they bring in Justin Fields or Darnold and they've got their quarterback situation buttoned up, they most certainly could take Jeanty at 5. Jeanty's 80, likely a draft slot will be 5 to 10, 5 to 12. I don't think he slips past the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think there's a shot in hell he slips past the Dallas Cowboys. When asked about his favorite landing spot or where he envisions, he could go, he said Chicago. He said a couple different places, but the number one location, according to one clip where they asked him to pick his ideal landing spot, he said Dallas would be, he believes, the most ideal landing spot. He's wanted to play in Dallas. And so Dallas would be a great landing spot for him. It would be a great landing spot for fantasy football. It would be a great landing spot for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm deathly afraid the Chicago Bears want to take him at 10. Ben Johnson, the new head coach from Detroit, offensive coordinator in Detroit. Gibbs, Monty, rushing attack. He's now the head coach in Chicago. So you think that Ben Johnson might have a little instinct or two to go after his new Jahmyr Gibbs. And Ashton Jeanty would be every bit as good as Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs is every bit as good as Ashton Jeanty. These are two peas in a pod. These are two very similar players. Ashton Jeanty is kind of a little bit more of a between the tackle workhorse than Gibbs. Gibbs is kind of a little bit more of a receiving dual threat than Jeanty, but they're very similar players, and they could see very similar ceilings and plateaued value. Plateau meaning 1 to 3 overall. I truly believe that Dallas would not let him fall past 12. I don't know if the Niners would let him fall past 11. And you might say, oh, Niners got to do this and that. Look, this team drafted a wide receiver in the first round last year instead of Cooper DeJean. And Cooper DeJean wasn't somebody we didn't know was going to be as good, and it's easy to have, that hindsight's 20/20, easy to say that now. No, we knew Cooper DeJean was going to be a force in the NFL, and it was actually announced that the Niners drafted him, and then it was communication got all mixed up. Someone said that the Niners were trying to see if they could, figure out who was maybe talking in-house, a mole or rat in the organization, because they said, well, float out there that we drafted Cooper DeJean, or that we're going to. And then the news broke that Cooper DeJean was going to be the selection, and then all of a sudden, nope, never mind, it's going to be Ricky Pearsall. Don't tell me the Niners aren't capable of drafting Ashton Jeanty at 11. Don't even try. You want to try, dial into the phone line and try and explain it to me in a way that makes sense. It might not be what you want. It might not be what you think. It might not be what you would do. But the Niners most definitely could draft Ashton Jeanty at 11. And it would devastate all of us. Just kick us right in the sack. So I'm deathly afraid of that. Not afraid of him going really higher than unless it's Vegas, and I like the Vegas landing spot. So I'm not worried about anything. There's a couple landmines at 10 and 11, the Chicago Bears and the San Francisco 49ers, that stand in the way of Ashton Jeanty going to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, there's another landmine of sorts where the Miami Dolphins, if they get their hands on Jeanty, you might say, oh, they've got Achane. Look, I don't even know where I'd value Achane if Jeanty lands in Miami. But if he's there and the Dallas Cowboys trade out of the pick, let's say, because I don't think they would let Jeanty slip by him. I think the way, and my rationale there is Jerry Jones crapped the bed so hard on not going after Henry, not going after Barkley, not going after Josh Jacobs. I mean, diarrhea all over the bed. I think he's got a desire to rectify and prove to people that's why I didn't bring in Henry, because I knew that, and he'd say this. You could hear Jerry talk about this verbal diarrhea. Be like, yeah, this is the reason why. I've been doing this for a lot of years, and if we would have taken Henry, we wouldn't have drafted Jeanty. So Jeanty, I almost 1,000% guarantee, almost 1,000. You can never fully guarantee, especially at a 1,000% capacity, that Jerry will want to remedy his very public mistake. And if Jeanty's there, that can wipe clean the reason and rationale of not getting Henry. And then he has 2 layers of explaining it. Not only, they weren't ready to win, whatever, because he said that before. The reason we didn't take Henry is because we couldn't win with him. Yeah, that's a ticket. Now he can tell you another thing. Well, we wouldn't have Jeanty because we'd be committed to Henry and have all that money tied up. I believe the Dallas Cowboys will not let him slip past 12. But if they trade out of the pick, or Jerry hits his head the morning of the draft, whatever, and they fall, and Jeanty falls to 13, I truly believe that Mike McDaniel, regardless of what you think, Steve, John, Bill, Hateful Henry out there watching, Keyboard Warrior William, no matter what you all think, I know this man, Mike McDaniel. He wants weapons. He wants weapons, and he wants all of them. And there is a world where Achane's value drops from top 10 overall, because Achane is a top 10 pick walking into 2025. He probably drops to the 3rd or 4th round. If Jeanty gets drafted to the Dolphins, Achane's draft stock in fantasy plummets. But that could be something we love. I know initially we won't want it. I'm just going through all the scenarios. I don't think Miami will take him because I think he won't be there. But I'm just trying to let you guys know that Achane would plummet. But we saw Mostert and Achane have huge success together. So I'd be totally all in on Achane 4th round value. But let's not go there. Let's not get negative. Let's keep Achane in our thoughts and prayers.
Achane.
And nothing happened to Achane. I say thoughts and prayers because we want Achane to be the lone, starter in Miami. So let's pretend that Miami doesn't have a shot at Jeanty. And let's say Jeanty goes to the Chicago Bears. And what do we do there? And we'll talk about T. Higgins again in a second. But what do we do with Jeanty in Chicago? We draft him. He's still going to be a force. Swift had a really, solid season. I think, Ben Johnson will want to use him. The fact that Ben Johnson's there is kind of like when a parent sends a kid to a camp or a sleepover, and they're like, oh, I'm worried about it. I don't know who these kids are. And then the father, throws some logic at the situation and says, don't worry, their best friend Billy is staying the night too. Oh, okay, so he knows somebody. He knows somebody. Okay, this might be okay. This is Ben Johnson. We know somebody over there. Okay, Ben Johnson will take care of Jeanty. We'll look out for him. I don't want it, though. Why don't I want it? Because I think you're getting only 70 or maybe 80, 85%, 90% capacity, out of this kid in Chicago, whereas you get the entire package in Dallas. You get everything unleashed right away. I'm not saying Chicago will move him out of round, one, or I'm sorry, out of the top 15 or out of round 2. Jeanty is, in my opinion, 12 overall capable. I would take him at the tail end of 12 at the 12-13 bookend picks if I had to. The good news is Jeanty falls about 14, 15, 16, 17 overall. But I'd take him at 12 if I need to. Don't tell anybody. If in Chicago, I bet you, in my view, a few players leapfrog him in redraft, maybe a couple in Dynasty, just because of Chicago, how bad Chicago is at putting things together. They're non-football people. They're non-serious people running the Chicago Bears. They don't understand football at all. So it complicates the situation. It probably makes Jeanty's current ADP more of my reality. So right now I'm laughing because Jeanty's going 14, 15. My reality is 11, 12, 13. I think my reality is right where his current ADP is if in Chicago. If in San Francisco, we're all just having panic attacks left and right. We'll have to call, we'll have to get a hold of that Amazon therapist or whatever. You can, with your Amazon Prime account, you get free potential phone call therapy. We'll dial one up live on the show and say, help us. So I've got 400, 500 people in the live stream that need some counseling right now because the 49ers are just absolutely meddling with our fantasy football. If he lands in Miami, Jeanty's a star, but what's that do for Achane? If Jeanty's in Dallas, it's the best situation I can come up with. Look how good Dowdle did, and I give Dowdle credit. I didn't like Dowdle at the beginning of the year, mostly partly, but mostly because of how Jerry and this offense was gonna handle things. It took a while for Dowdle to get going. They brought in Zeke Elliott. They didn't know what they were doing, so I wasn't investing in Dowdle, admittedly, and he did look really good at the end of the year. I do believe that it's such a good situation in Dallas that he would thrive. He would thrive. He would keep the defense honest for CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb would in turn keep the defenses honest against Jeanty. Jeanty wouldn't be seeing 8-man fronts really ever. How can you do that? CeeDee Lamb's more dangerous than Jeanty to opposing defenses that have always seen CeeDee Lamb, know what CeeDee Lamb could do. Jeanty could have an amazing, start to the year where his first 6 games he's 100 yards rushing. Defenses are still not going to say, oh, well, we'll just crowd the box and let CeeDee Lamb beat us. CeeDee Lamb will always have the road. They will heed the road to CeeDee Lamb and say, yes, sir, you are the king of this offense. We're going to make sure to focus on you. So Jeanty's in amazing situation in Dallas. Dallas is what we want. Dallas is what we hope for. Dallas makes our dreams come true. Jeanty to mother freaking Dallas will be Smitty approved, if you ask me.
You've just been Smitty approved.
If we're talking now, let's swing back over to the T. Higgins situation. T. Higgins is we already addressed this quite a bit, so let me just go over some of the new potential news that maybe we discussed, but we didn't really hammer home. The franchise tag can actually officially be placed on T. Higgins at 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, February 18, which will be a Tuesday. So Tuesday, February 18, the franchise tag will be slapped on T. Higgins. This news was made available to us earlier in the day. I've got several different pieces of news regarding this. The easiest way to ensure T. Higgins remains a Bengal a placeholder, the franchise tag. This is funny that we're hearing from like Schefter and Rappaport that they're likely to place the tag on him before they trade him is what they were saying weeks ago. Remember? I reported on it. So what in the hell are they talking about? Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport should know better. The franchise tag is always going to be used in this situation to keep him, whether they want to trade him or whether they want to sign him. And the fact that they were peddling out there that they're going to tag him before they trade him, as if it's a foregone conclusion the Bengals want to trade him. I came in here screaming and yelling, and now look at the reports. Look at Ian Rappaport, Schefter. They're speaking very different languages today. The easiest way to ensure T. Higgins remains a Bengal is the franchise tag. Looky here. We've been saying that all offseason. Bengals focused on T. Higgins, signing T. Higgins to a long-term deal, considered likely to use the second franchise tag if needed. What they mean by that is, if you remember, T. Higgins was franchise tagged last year. So every time they franchise tag him, and they can continue to tag him, It's an increase, 120% of the salary instead of 100%. So it is a more costly endeavor to franchise tag a player 2 years in a row. But they're going to do it tomorrow by 4 p.m. Eastern, or beginning on 4 p.m. So at 4 p.m. Eastern, the Bengals will slap the tag on T. Higgins. This will be 2 years in a row, 120% for the salary instead of 100 because it's a second tag in a row, and it's going to be. It's going to be interesting, how this plays out. But this is to retain him. This is to hold T. Higgins. T. Higgins is not going anywhere. T. Higgins is going to either be tagged and then extended over about a month or so of negotiation, or he's going to be traded on the tag to a team that's already worked out a long-term deal with him because he's been granted permission to speak, him and his agent. At that point, if it gets really, dirty and crazy later, then T will have a contract drawn up, agreed upon verbally, and then when the trade is announced, both the trade and the contract will be executed in parallel, meaning that there's no way, 0% chance that T. Higgins is traded on the tag without having a contract in unison, in parallel, announced alongside of the trade. So it's complex. But guess what? The Bengals have zero interest in trading T. Higgins right now. The tag tomorrow doesn't mean he's being traded. The tag tomorrow means we're going to hold him in place. We're going to try and force him to sign a contract. And if he doesn't do it, then he's going to play on his tag. That's going to be the approach the Bengals take. Now, how far apart are they? If they're not far apart, this could be a gentle process. This could be a pretty quick process. If they're far apart, if the Bengals say $31 million and T. Higgins says $35, I'm going to absolutely erase everything Bengals on all my social media. I'm not going to talk about the Bengals. I'm going to not even show up. I'm going to hold out. I'm going to make it very clear I'm not coming near the facility. You're going to offer me $31 million. I want $35. And if anybody thinks he can't command 34, at least 33, 34, maybe even 35, you've got another thing coming. And I've got a bridge to sell you, because yesterday's price is not today's price. You may think you know what T. Higgins is worth, but you don't. Angry Angus out there. Keyboard warrior William. You don't know. This guy is going to command 33, 34, maybe upwards of 35. The 35 or the 34 will be dependent on if Jamar Chase gets his 38, 39, $40 million deal before T. Higgins gets his 32, 33, or $34 million deal. It's all a interconnected spider web that when one player, even a quarterback, gets a bigger increased salary, shatters the glass ceiling of contracts, everybody gets drug up a little bit upward. Even if it's a quarterback that signs, the wide receivers come up a little bit. Everything's a connected spider web. When you pull on any part of it, the whole thing moves. T. Higgins will get a ton of money. Okay, so we're going to open up the phone lines in just a minute. Let me just go through the rest of this real quickly. This piece of news here says that the Bengals are embarking on an ambitious offseason, aiming for deals for Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson. Higgins is getting the franchise tag tomorrow. Can't let him walk, per source, is what the Bengals stance is. Can't let him walk, meaning he's not going anywhere. He's probably not getting traded. He's probably playing on the tag more so than getting traded, but it depends how ugly it gets. It depends if the Bengals feel like their season will be hampered and they will not be able to have a successful year. If T. Higgins is playing this game of I'm not showing up, and when I show up, I'm probably going to get hurt because he's an injury-prone player. The last thing you want is an injury-prone player not showing up to the facility until September. That will lead to a T. Higgins injury. He will have a hamstring or a groin or a soft tissue, a calf injury. T. Higgins will get injured if he's not there in July. If he shows up August 1, I'm okay. August 1, if he misses all of August, T. Higgins is getting hurt in 2025. So we don't want him going in that direction at all. We got another piece of news here. Garrett Wilson, as I told you all a couple days ago, a week ago, when we had this conversation, we've been talking about this for a little while. This is coming from ESPN. Garrett Wilson's chances of returning to the Jets are greatly increased now that Aaron Rodgers is gone, or in all intents and purposes earmarked to be a June 1 release. So Garrett Wilson not going anywhere. People tell me all the time, I heard Garrett Wilson trade rumor. Don't listen to him. Exactly what we said. He ain't going anywhere. They're not getting rid of Devontae Adams, which they are, and Garrett Wilson. They're just going to get rid of Devontae Adams. They're getting rid of Aaron Rodgers. They're getting rid of Devontae Adams. They're cleaning house. They're getting rid of the Green Bay crew, and they're going to say, what's the foundation of this team? The young bloods. Garrett Wilson, the defense. Breece Hall, the run game. Aaron Glenn, defensive minded, comes from Detroit, defensive guy, says let's build through defense and the run. Breece Hall going to the moon. Breece Hall's stock is on the rise. Breece Hall is a Jupiter man.
The Jupiter men.
The Saturn men.
Is he a Mars man?
He's on a shuttle to Mars.
He should be a
Mars
Jupiter man. Him and Kyron should be Jupiter men. I'm going to move them. Or at least Saturn men. They should be Saturn men. But Breece Hall's going to the mother freaking moon. And Garrett Wilson ain't going anywhere. Stop with it. This silly nonsense about Garrett Wilson getting traded. Why would they do that? Why would they get rid of Adams, Aaron Rodgers, and then let's just get rid of everybody? No. Garrett Wilson is part of the OGs there in New York. Kirk Cousins. Many are connecting the dots between the Browns and Kirk Cousins. We've been calling this every step of the way. I don't think we've been wrong this offseason. Kirk Cousins lining up perfectly for a Cleveland Brown landing spot. It makes sense. Here's another one that we were right on. You have nowhere else to go. This is your source, your NFL news source right here, 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. We've landed all of this. Myles Garrett, he says he wants to be traded. I said he's not going anywhere. According to reports, all indications are that the Browns are going to continue to hold Myles Garrett and try to present him with the monstrous new contract to convince him to stay with the team. Of course, anything can happen. You know, it could get really ugly, and that's what I've said before. Any ugly situation could result in a ripple and a tear between the relationship of team and player. And then when the fan base starts to hate you too, then it's like, what's the best offer? And if someone can bring an offer that the team can't refuse with a ruptured relationship, then anybody can be traded. Mark this down. You'll always hear this from me. Anyone can be traded as long as the cap and money will allow. Sometimes a contract will not allow you to be traded. Like you can't trade Deshaun Watson. You can't trade Justin Herbert. There's certain players you can't trade because of the cap hit. But mark my words down here, because I will always tell you this. As long as you have an offer that you can't refuse, mixed with a fractured relationship of team and player, anybody can be traded. But as I've said from the jump, this guy can want to go wherever he wants, when he wants. Doesn't matter. You know, the team's not... Cooper Kupp wants to get traded, sure. Debo wants to get traded, sure. They don't want to keep him. This is a different cornerstone piece of this team they're not getting rid of. At least not right now, until he can create some havoc, and then maybe they consider it. Trevor Lawrence, trade rumors. Mike Florio reports that the Steelers did not call the Jaguars about Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence is shot down saying he wants to win a Super Bowl, not saying he will or won't or whatever. He said, I want to win a Super Bowl with the Jaguars. I don't want to go anywhere. So he doesn't want to go anywhere. He made it abundantly clear. He talked to Kay Adams about it on Up and Adams. And the rumors have been bogus so far. This is smoke season. A lot of people trying to make waves and pretend they've got information and they don't. Aaron Rodgers told the Jets his tentative intention is to play in 2025. So we have that lingering conversation, but that's with the New York Jets, but we don't know if he feels that way anymore. He still could walk away. And then this I thought was just a nice little piece to throw up here for people that don't think Mahomes is going to be good this year, or they're going to let Mahomes fall to the 6th and 7th round, and even late 5 is crazy. Chiefs will be unstoppable next season. This is just a random opinion, but look at these stats. Look at these 2 rookie seasons here. Xavier Worthy, 20 games, 78 receptions, 925, 9 TDs. Rashee Rice, 20 games, 105, 1.2K, 8 touchdowns. These are really good rookie years, and you're looking at one of the best wide receiver crews in the entire National Football League. I'm not saying that Jamar Chase, T. Higgins aren't better. I'm not saying J.J. and Addison and Hawkinson even included, or A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, or a couple other of those scenarios aren't right there or better in some cases. But this is a top 5 wide receiver room in the National Football League. Even if you took Kelsey and punted him into retirement and never turned back, the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes have never been set up better. Like this 2025 Patrick Mahomes receiving crew is better than any receiving crew he may have ever had, including Kelsey and Hill. It could be comparable. This is speed. These are two players that are just phenomenal players, and the reason it's different is they're both wide receivers. And he's had Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. That's been great. Now he has two players, one very Tyreek Hill-like, the other a receiver he's never really had before in Rashee Rice. This is a possession receiver, a go up and get a jump ball receiver. This is a guy that can knife across the field. He could run every route in the route tree. And his knee injuries, LCL wasn't that bad of an injury. It was bad, but it wasn't. He tore his ACL. The meniscus is all screwed up with the ACL and all this. It's an LCL injury. He'll be fine. And could he face a 2 to 4 game suspension? Maybe. 2 to 6 game? Maybe. Could it get pushed into 2026? Maybe. But, there's a good chance he misses. He could even expedite this and say, I'd like to expedite this. He gets suspended in weeks 1 and 2. He's still recovering. He comes in week 3 completely healthy. I mean, anything could happen. But the Chiefs could even go get a wide receiver. They could go get Amari Cooper off the free agent, out of the free agent pool. You put Amari Cooper on that squad, it's even better. Hollywood Brown, who knows if he comes back. You got a couple other options, but I don't think Hopkins isn't a player I would even concern myself with. But what an unbelievable duo. What a tandem that Mahomes is going to have. And I love the Mahomes haters. Bring it. Phone lines are open.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
So, hit me with whatever you got. Your boys here to answer the call. Lots to talk about, especially as it relates to the NFL draft and the landing spots and, what we're talking about with this. I can't wait. I can't wait for the NFL draft. The NFL draft is my favorite time of year, and I love free agency as well. I kind of almost think of the NFL draft time and the free agent time is like the same time frame. Jeanty going to the Cowboys would be music to my 1.1 pick. It sure would. True Penguin says Mahomes 50 TD passes. I can't wait till he returns to some sort of glory at that level, because it's going to be wild to the people that predict he never will. It's going to be wild to the people that think they know what they're talking about when they say Mahomes. And Mahomes has never been a good fantasy guy for... Really? Now, granted, I haven't updated the 2024, so 2 seasons in a row, he hasn't been as electric. We know that. But don't even start. Don't act like this guy hasn't... Don't try and take away all that he accomplished because he lost 1 game when he was going for a 3-peat. Purdy, what's this say? Peanut Butter and Cup says San Francisco trades Purdy for a first-round pick. You think Purdy would command a first-round pick? I don't. But I don't know. Maybe he would. He could. There are teams that like him. There are definitely a lot of people, a lot of announcers like him. Maybe he does command a first-round pick, but they're not. They're going to bring him back, bro. They have zero interest in going down a different avenue. The only thing that would be crazy is if Purdy wanted $60 million and the Niners were obliviously wanting to pay him only $40 and they were at some standstill. But I don't know. Rodgers 1-year deal trades Debo for Max Crosby. Debo can't get you back. Peanut Butter, you're living in a little bit of a fairy tale world here. Debo can't get you Max Crosby. Uses the other pick to back up defense side kicker too. It's a nice pipe dream, but none of that's happening. Raiders won't trade Max Crosby for Debo. Agreed. He's dreaming. Let a boy dream. Let a boy dream. Yeah, we do need a fairy tale lap. That's true, BBQ. We need to make that where we hit a... Maybe BBQ, you inspired me to think of this. We hit a fairy tale lap button and it just shows a guy just flying high, like, you can fly higher than an eagle. And he's just taking a lap, flying his lap in his fairy tale world with pixie dust and unicorns all around. Hey, shake your oblivious, fly your lap, buddy boy. Take a trip around Fairy Tale Lane. Take a lap. Oh, sorry. I think the phone lines were closed. My bad. Try one more time.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Yeah, we'll make that one. Thank you, BBQ, for inspiring it with your comment. All right. Tomorrow will be interesting with the tag designation start time, 4 p.m. Eastern. We're live at 8 p.m. Eastern, so we'll have plenty to talk about. Probably go live before that on T. Higgins. I know we've talked about T. Higgins quite a lot lately, and you probably will at some point get sick of it, but I'm not sick of it now. I'm real amped up about all this stuff, and I couldn't be happier or more pleased to have these kinds of conversations, even repetitively, and there's a little more news each time. It's not like we talked about everything exactly the same with T. Higgins. There's going to be news tomorrow. He'll get tagged, and then there'll be some rumor as to what the Bengals are leaning, so we're going to have that to talk about tomorrow. So even though it's somewhat similar topics, it will be different content. The Jeanty news, that is just a speculative piece, again, that has nothing to really do with any factual information, or it's not like, and this is that report right here. It's not like we've heard from the Dallas Cowboys front office. This is The Athletic talking about they believe the Cowboys will select Ashton Jeanty at 12. And so, it again, in all transparency here, this is nothing. But it sure is fun to talk about. And it's being kicked around, and the rumors that have been ignited by it, that Dallas does in fact want him. What are people hearing? What do people hear around Radio Row from execs and people that are connected to the situation that make us think that, or make somebody think that talks about it? So there's definitely some probably truth to it. I think especially at Super Bowl Super Bowl week, this probably derived from that. I'm sure there's comments in these sources that nobody ever cites anymore. Has something to do with it. So Ashton Jeanty, can't wait for this kid to land in Dallas if it is in fact, a desired landing spot. The problem is, if Dallas does want this to happen and it's getting telegraphed like this, you've got Chicago, you got San Francisco, you got, the Raiders, you got other teams that are down low that might want to trade up above Dallas to kind of snipe them. But what I do find in the NFL is, it's not like in a fantasy draft where you could literally tell people what you want to do and you will not get the player. You go into any draft and go, my goal is to draft Jeanty at 11. He will be gone. You will get sniped, even though he doesn't even go at 11. That is the nature of what we do. But in the NFL, I don't know. It's weird. It's almost like the draft day movie. The NFL is very much like the draft day movie. I didn't think it was when I first watched it, and the more I've gotten to know the way GMs and front offices work, it is so much like it. You literally could have somebody from the Dallas Cowboys call up the Chicago Bears and be like, hey, we're thinking about taking Jeanty at 12. And they're not even blowing smoke. They're just like, what do you guys think of that? It's the way the NFL works. The NFL's wild. You put me into an NFL GM seat, and I'm blowing smoke left and right. I'm calling up the Bears going, we're going to take an offensive lineman. And then the Bears are like, we better take an offensive line. I'd be calling everyone, mentioning everybody but Jeanty. I'd be like, hey, Raiders, yeah, I've heard some good news about quarterbacks maybe slipping. Yeah. Hey, are you guys going to take Jeanty at 5 or at 6? Draft tonight, maybe, Bruce. I'm not sure. We're going to play it by ear. This is the second show of tonight. I need to do a Dynasty show tonight too. So we'll see. We have been drafting pretty much every night, Bruce. Where's Ron been? Ron's been calling in, Bruce. I don't know where you've been. We draft every night, Bruce, and you ask where Ron's been. Ron's been dialing in lately. He's been here pretty much every other night or every third night, and he dials in and he gives his 2 cents about the Steelers and talks about that all the time. All right. Phone calls can be had. Ashton Jeanty, I'm working on the video drop. I'm also working on a Malik Neighbors video drop. Those will be here shortly. Of course, if you've missed it, we've got the BT drop. We've got a few other ones I haven't played lately. Supernovas, we'll obviously lock that video down when we get near August, or even really September 1 is when the Supernova video is going to drop. We've got, what else do we have? We added something else the other day. We've got the BT video. You guys have seen that. We've got,
Mr. London, what seems to be the problem? I've been a little off. Can't seem to get things going, if you know what I mean. I think I have just the thing for you, Mr. London.
John, you are live. John, what can I do for you?
Hey, Smitty, I'm just wondering what makes you think, and all these other people think, that the Cowboys need an RB. I know that they were like ranked 27th and all, but I don't really think that being ranked 27th in rushing is indicative of them being bad at rushing, as it is more so them not having pieces around them to take the pressure off it, and also having a bad QB.
It's who has a bad QB?
The Cowboys. The dude drops the ball, and he has to wear a glove. He's bad. Like, he's really, really bad. He's not taking them to the promised land.
What, bro? What did you say? Bad QB? Dak Prescott ain't a bad QB. What are you talking about? Can I get my camera back in normal zoom? What do you mean he's a bad QB? What are you talking about?
There's a lot of one and done with him.
Look, tell me a QB that they could upgrade Dak to. Name one. Dak's a top 6 to 12 quarterback. I'm not saying he's 6 right now, but he's played that way. Dak got injured last year. He wasn't there. A lot of what you're remembering about the Dallas Cowboys in 2024, bro, is Dak wasn't there. And yeah, Dak might drop the ball in the playoffs, but is it all on Dak, or is it on that the team hasn't set up Dak to succeed? I don't hear you complaining about Josh Allen to the same degree as you do Dak. They both fail. They both continue to fail. Lamar Jackson continues to fail in the playoffs. Does that mean they're not good quarterbacks? Not everybody can get to a Super Bowl. Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl. Was he bad?
No, he was amazing.
Dak's a good quarterback. I'm not saying he's elite, but you said they don't have a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback, bro. There are teams that would kill to have Dak Prescott as their quarterback. I'd trade Kyler Murray and a first rounder for Dak Prescott in a heartbeat. Kyler Murray's not winning nothing. So anyways, let's aside from that, why do the Dallas Cowboys, why do people think that the Cowboys need a running back? You think they don't. For the same reason that teams that may have not even really desperately needed a running back should have drafted Adrian Peterson. The Falcons had Tyler Algier. He is no different as a prospect than Dowdle is and was. Should the Falcons not have drafted Bijan Robinson? Honest question. Should the Falcons have avoided Bijan Robinson because they had a very successful Tyler Algier, great rookie year, 1,000-yard season, looked phenomenal. Should they have said, no, let's go ahead and pass on this generational running back?
No, they should have drafted him, but they also have other areas where they need help.
I know, but Adrian Peterson, Bijan Robinson, Ashton Jeanty, you don't pass on these running backs. You just don't do it. You can find another offensive lineman, another defensive player you can coach up to be some surprise caliber player. Ashton Jeanty is the next Adrian Peterson, the next Bijan Robinson, next Jahmyr Gibbs. This is an absolute superstar. So, maybe you don't need the Range Rover, but you're being offered the Range Rover instead of driving the real reliable Honda, which it's reliable. No one's saying Dowdle is not a bad player, but bro, you can't pass on this opportunity. The reason people are saying the Dallas Cowboys need a running back is more so they need to not pass up on what they did in the offseason. No Henry, no Barkley, no Jacobs. That's why they suck, bro. They didn't have that dominant force to keep the defense honest so that Dak Prescott can get a little bit more room to throw the football. Have a different defensive scheme he's looking at 24/7 instead of having defenses go, you can let Dowdle win this game. We're going to make sure to try and shut down Lamb and your passing attack. You have Jeanty in the backfield, bro. You don't think that's as good as drafting an amazing top 5 offensive lineman? I had this argument with Hugh Jackson, who kind of ridiculed me on my own show. And boy, was he ever wrong, and did what I say end up coming to fruition. I smoked him in that interview. Hugh Jackson, you can go look at the interview, came onto my show, and I said, I wasn't asking him, I was just telling him. I said, Jamar Chase needs to be the draft pick for the Bengals because drafting Jamar Chase is as effective or in some ways more effective than drafting an offensive lineman. You're going to protect Joe Burrow in ways that drafting the offensive lineman can't. You can still draft another offensive lineman in round 2, coach that offensive line up, but Jamar Chase stretches the defense. You never see the same defensive scheme again with Jamar Chase running routes for Joe Burrow. Doesn't matter if you got T. Higgins. Now you got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And I told you that this team would win the division. And everybody laughed at me, including Hugh, on my own show. The Bengals not only won the division by drafting Jamar Chase that year, they went to the Super Bowl. So, let me make this abundantly clear. Ashton Jeanty helps the offense more than any other offensive position you could draft. Ashton Jeanty helps the defense more than any defensive player you could draft because field position, offensive line, stretching the field, keeping the defense honest, making sure that CeeDee Lamb can't just be triple teamed every game. Ashton Jeanty is the best pick the Cowboys could possibly make, in my opinion, John.
Do you think if they were to trade down, they could still get him?
No.
And then get another wide receiver? So stop doing the whole
no chance.
Veteran wide receiver
no
thing?
chance. Ashton Jeanty, we will be lucky to see him fall to 12 because the Chicago Bears and the 49ers are major threats to take Ashton Jeanty, even though they have different needs that they need to fill. I don't care what anybody says. You can say, the Niners aren't going to take Jeanty because I don't care what you think. Not you, John, or not anybody really specifically. Just the hater keyboard warrior William that's typing right now that he knows the Niners like the back of his hand, and the Niners wouldn't dare take a Ashton Jeanty when they need an offensive line, this and that. You don't know, this team took a wide receiver in round 1 that they couldn't even use over Cooper DeJean, who we said, take Cooper DeJean here. Raj and the Quad Box boys, me included, on Instagram, would go live on Instagram pretty much every week saying the Niners should take Cooper DeJean. He's going to be a superstar. And what do the Niners do? They shart the bed harder than anybody's ever sharted the bed the first round in a long time. And they let Cooper DeJean slip through their kung fu grip right to the Eagles. And they take Ricky Pearsall. Don't give me that Ricky looks pretty good. I think Ricky could end up being maybe he is a good pick, that he should have been in the second round. Don't try and act like because maybe Ricky Pearsall works out at some point that it was a good pick. Stop. You're embarrassing yourself. The Niners crapped the bed hardcore, passing on a player like Cooper DeJean, who we knew was going to be a star. We talked about it all the time. And they take Ricky Pearsall, a second-round wide receiver in round 1. What a joke. What a joke. Ashton Jeanty needs to be grabbed in the top 12, and he will. At the very least, Miami Mike McDaniel would take him. I don't care if he's got HN or not. He's not letting him fall past 13. It's gonna. Those are the safety nets. The ability to catch him right there. There's no way he falls.
Appreciate it, Smitty. And then last question. When you're evaluating these RBs, what's the number one stat that you look at to determine whether or not their success in college will translate over to the NFL? Is it forcing the tackles, yards after contact, yards per carry, total rushing yards, TDs, receptions? Which one, when you're looking at it, the stat line, do you say that's the answer?
None.
It's going to translate.
None. All. Everything. Nothing. It's not. That's an Excel sheet Eric way to approach things. Excel sheet Eric, he'd be like, yeah, according to my data, your data doesn't tell everything. And it's case by case, it's visual. Like, if anything, bro, it's eye test more than anything. But when eye test can be corroborated with stats and different things. Now, I will say, force missed tackles, there are some great stats that are very predictive, sure. But that doesn't, you got what defensive schemes did they face? Like, what did the offense look like? It's ridiculous when people actually make conclusions and come to conclusions off of data only. Like, if anything, I don't have to, I'm a big data guy. A lot of people coin me as no data. I know you don't like data, Smitty. I love data. I just go live like 4 hours a day. I can't have data and spreadsheets all over. I run out of, I'm a gut-driven guy, number one, but I have tons of data I throw on screen. I'm constantly throwing up data and telling you this and that. This is why you should be doing this. Look at this offense. And we talk about data all the time. But when it comes to it, bro, there's no recipe that you can just rinse and repeat on it. Ashton Jeanty, look at all of his numbers. His numbers mean a lot, but he's dominating everything. You look at a guy like Dylan Sampson. I don't even care what Dylan Sampson's numbers are next to the guy next to him. I watch Dylan Sampson and using my eyeballs, I know he's a better jump stop, jump cut runner, ability to maneuver in a passing lane, in a rushing lane, find an opening in a crease, get that extra 2 or 3 yards. Reminds me of Kenneth Walker. Hopefully Dylan Sampson can stay healthy. Hopefully Dylan Sampson finds a home. I watch Scatterboo. I don't care what Scatterboo's stats say. I mean, obviously, once you like a guy, you look at the stats. I'm just saying, I don't care if the stats say one thing over another. I can tell you Scatterboo's going to be a monster if he's fed. It's more visual than anything, bro. I trust my eyes more than anything. There's no stat that you can transpose from year to year and say, well, this is the indicator of the blah, blah, blah. That's the same person that didn't see Arian Foster coming. That's the same person that didn't see Priest Holmes coming. That's the same person that didn't see Bucky Irving coming. And none of us saw Bucky Irving coming to the degree he brought it. We noticed him inside the NFL already and said, holy shit, this guy's not the same prospect we scouted. The scouting data, nothing told you that Bucky Irving would look as dominant as he looks. It's so much more complex than that. All right, John, appreciate it. Later, bro.
Appreciate it. Have a great night, man.
Later, bro. Daniel coming in strong with a $2 hauler. Ashton to Chicago. We told you no thank you, Daniel, but appreciate you. No, Daniel.
You've just been Smitty.
If he goes there, we might say that, but we don't want to. We don't want the Chicago Bears to take him. We don't want the Niners to take him. We don't want that. I know Daniel might as a Bears fan, but please no. Please no. You ask a college coach about players they face, and they will straight up tell you JD5 neighbors, BT. Look, the best way I could describe mixing data with gut instinct is look at JD5. I mean, JD5's data told you everything. This is coming out of college. Told you everything you needed to know. He had 40 passing touchdowns. He had 10 rushing touchdowns. Only 4 INTs in 2023. 4 INTs. He had 10 rushing touchdowns, 40 passing touchdowns, 1134 rushing. He was the best pocket passer to come out of college in the last decade. I speak data for a living. I have a language that I speak called data. Don't get me wrong. You know, it's wild to me when people coin me as a non-data guy. Smitty, I know you don't like data. It's the dumbest thing anybody ever says to me. What are you talking about? I use data more than anybody. The problem is I go live more than anybody, so I'm talking longer than anybody. I can't just rattle. I can only provide you with so much pre-display data because we go live so much. But most of everything I do has gut-driven instincts before I ever arrive at the data. Do I ever look at data and say, holy crap, that data stands out. Let me go watch this kid. Sure, that happens too. Sometimes data will reveal that there's a diamond in the rough somewhere and you go looking, but the NFL's different. Baseball is more, you could probably win 90% accuracy of your fantasy football or fantasy baseball championships and analysis without even watching a game. There's so much data. There's so many games played that you become an average, and the averages you can't beat. In the NFL and fantasy football, but the NFL specifically, you can do nothing for 8 games and then come in week 9 and be the best running back in the league. There's no data that tells you that. There's no average that you can look at weeks 1 through 8 that can explain anything. It's opportunity. It's eyeball test. It's how someone evolves at the next level. It's Bucky Irving looking like a good prospect turns into an elite star in the NFL because he just matures at the right time. These kids are sometimes 19 and 20 and 21 years old. They're not mature yet. They're not fully grown yet. CeeDee Lamb grew a half an inch in the NFL. CeeDee Lamb grew a half an inch in the NFL. These guys are not done growing, maturing, getting better. So yeah, Bucky's can evolve and blossom in the league, and we don't see it coming, and it's not on anybody. Tom Brady, no one knew what Tom Brady was going to be. He became that in the NFL. It's 100% something that fluctuates based on situation and everything. Daniel with the $20 holler. Look at the monster go.
Alert. Super chat alert.
I got to do a set of curl.
Alert. Super chat alert.
We're doing a set. We're doing a set. Give me a second. We got to put the board down. All right, so if nobody knows what I'm doing here, this is the core board by Stoic Innovations, and we're gonna put a 40-pound weight there. We're gonna go with a 40-pound set of set for these. These are the curl hooks here. Hold on. Let me put these on. Anytime I get a $20 hauler, I'm pumping out a set. All right, here we go. All right, let's hit that one more time. $20 hauler. Appreciate you, bro. Smash, smash, smash.
Alert. Super chat alert. Alert. Super chat alert.
We're getting fit together. All right, Daniel's $20 hauler says the glazing of Dak in this chat is crazy. No, Jolts, the anti-Dak. Look, Jolts, You and I agree on zero. Zero. I can't remember the last time we agreed on anything. I don't even know why you show up here. Because everything I say, you don't agree with. So it doesn't make sense. Not a Bears fan. I'm a sad Finns fan. I just think that where he ends up. Oh, you think he's going to Chicago? Okay. Here is $20. Get in shape. Make America healthy again. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate you. This board is awesome. It's freaking fantastic. Scataboo trumps all other metrics. His heart metric. Yeah, he plays with his heart, his soul. Dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Thanks again, Daniel, for dropping the super chat, my boy. Daniel to the moon. For those that don't know what the core board is, this is the core board. It's what I got right here. Code Smitty will get you a discount, 10%. You go to stoicinnovations.com. Let me drop the website right here in the link to the board. stoicinnovations.com, 10% using code Smitty. And it's just such a cool board, abs, all that stuff. So I'm going to start using that. I started on Valentine's Day, and in 60 days, I'm going to get ripped, insanely ripped. Jeanty won't be a Bear. They need O-line. You don't know that, Terry. You have no offense, but you have no clue what they're going to do with their pick. They needed O-line and they drafted Roma Dunze. And they had Shane Waldron as their OC, who doesn't use 3 wide receivers. And they had Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. And they still drafted Roma Dunze, who they couldn't even use. It's like drafting a 5th tire on a vehicle that already has 4 tires. Or better yet, a motorcycle that has 2 tires, and you buy a spare tire to put on your back, and you drive your motorcycle with Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. Don't tell me you know what the Bears are going to do. It doesn't matter what the Bears are going to do. Smitty, I'll send you a $200 super chat if you send me a core board. Well, I'd be down some money. Will, because core board it's an expensive board, but it's a quality board, but it's more than $200. So you want to buy the core board. This setup is crazy. It's insane. All the cables, the bar, everything. But I am giving away one of these to somebody in the comments of my Instagram videos that I post. If I can do this dragon flag within 60 days and hold it for 45 seconds, and I got to do it in front of the co-owner of core board on a video. So I got to do a dragon flag for 45 seconds and hold it. I also have to do 5 Nordic curls, and there's a device that hooks onto this, and you position your knees and your feet on the back of the board where his hands are, and you lower your front of your body down to hit your chest on the ground and come up. Use his hamstrings. I got to do 5 Nordic curls and then a 45-second dragon flag within 60 days, but I will get there. And if I do that, the owner of Stoic Innovations, the co-owner, and the owner of Core Board is going to give one Core Board away, and I'm going to pick through the comments of my Instagram content on this specific stuff. So you got to comment on the video and tag 2 friends. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see it. Phone lines are open. Dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
If I get a couple phone calls, I'll stay. If not, we're going to leave, and I'll come back, and we'll do a show probably tonight. Jolt says, probably agree with Smitty 70% of the time. Well, you're probably losing 30% of your leagues. And Jolts, no offense, bro, but you only post negative stuff. So we only hear you disagree 100% of the time. So that's kind of the way that works. You want to, whenever you comment, drop negative comments, what are we going to do? Glazing of Dak Prescott, this and that. It's constant negativity. Here's one, actually. Smitty smashed the JD5 vids so much last year. Thank you, Jolts. That's a positive comment, Jolts. That's a very positive comment. Jolts and I are repairing our relationship one message at a time. One message at a time. Smitty, do you do drafts on Sleeper anymore? When they update their ADP, Terry, we'll be over there. But when we go over to do a draft and they have last year's ADP, they have Christian McCaffrey at 5, Tyreek Hill at 6. How are we supposed to do a mock draft? You know, so it's on them. The ball's in their court. Can't mock draft over there if they don't update anything. I mean, let me create a list they can import real quickly. Like, well, how hard is it? Somebody wants a wanted. Where's Denny? Where's Denny at?
Wanted.
Where's Denny?
Wanted.
I'm the positive comment king, says Wild Bill. He is. He is. Guys, I'm going to play a little game. If Ashton Jeanty is a Raider, what running back is he in 2025? Drop the number now in the chat. Running back 7, running back 8, running back 6. Drop it in the chat. Raiders landing spot. What does that make Ashton Jeanty in 2025? Drop it in the chat. Smitty, Xbox or PlayStation? PlayStation, but I honestly I don't even have one anymore. I need to buy one. That would be fun to stream me playing. Top 5 if he's in the Raiders uniform. Jeanty 7, 6 to 8, 4, 11, 5. AK says 8. Sick Nasty says 7. Okay. Pause. Everybody stop voting. I call off the voting because you're gonna mix up your vote here. Daniel says 8 to 10. All right, stop voting. If he's in Dallas, where does he rank in 2025? Running back 1, 2, 5, 3. Where is Jeanty in Dallas? You might even want to put Dallas 5. Put the team name next to it so that everybody knows you're not, watching a minute behind on the stream. Somebody will come in and put a number. Bare Bones says 9. In Dallas, 9. 5 as a Raider, 10 in Dallas. Why are you and Bare Bones against this? Is it fandom? Is it your rivalry? What is it that makes you think Dallas isn't a good landing spot? Jolt says 4. Bruce says 9. 7 to 10. Sick Nasty likes him in Dallas. 5 to 6. We got Shot says 9. Daniel says 4 in Dallas. Bruce says 9, like I said. Jolt says 4. FB says 3. Matto says 6. Okay, let me give you another scenario. Chicago. Where is he ranked in Chicago? Put Chicago in the number so we know you're not behind. Chicago in the number. What running back number? I think he probably is the same in Chicago as he is in LV. I think he's better in Dallas than he is in LV and Chicago, but he's still good in Chicago. They're still going to focal point of the offense will be Jeanty. Ben Johnson is there. Like I said, it's like when you find out your kid's going to some sleepover or some camp and you're worried as hell. You don't know what's going on, and you find out their best friend's going to be there. You're like, okay, Ben Johnson's there. It's going to be okay. He'll take care of him. Chicago, top 10. 7 in Chicago. Calvin says 13. I hope he's not there. Bears, 12. Daniel says 7 in Chicago. Chicago's O-line is trash. That's correct. And especially if they use it on Jeanty the pick, then their offensive line is still trash, I would say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to say LV 6 to 7, 6 to 8. Chicago 8 to 12. Dallas 4 to 6. Some overlap. Dallas, he's a 4 to 6 running back in 2025. Raiders, he's around 5 to 7. Chicago, he's at 8 to 12. 8 to 12. Bears 8, Chicago 7. Chicago 8 to 11, says Andy. Chicago 32, running back 32, says D-Town. LV over Dallas over Chicago. I like LV a lot. I do like LV a lot, but I think Dallas, we're missing the boat. If anybody's saying Dallas is, I think, not the best spot. It's the best spot. It really is. I think Chicago is a slightly better location for Jeanty than LV, says AK. I can't strongly disagree with you because there's a lot that needs to happen for both teams, but I think it's a very, very important point to make though. If they use the pick on Jeanty, they have no offensive line. You know, it's bad. It's bleak. They're the worst offensive line in the league by far. By far. I agree with Smitty 90% of the time. That's why I joined the Patreon bros and listen all the time. Thank you, Freedom. Appreciate you. He'll get hurt without help. Rico Jeanty is money. Yeah. AJ's gonna be amazing in Dallas, bro. Let's hope it happens. All right, guys, appreciate you. Be back tonight. Hopefully I have an Ashton Jeanty and Neighbors video by tomorrow night. Thank you for the super chats. You guys absolutely rock. Daniel dropping the $20 hauler. Daniel is an absolute monster tonight, dropping the $5 and the $2, or the $20 and the $2. Jungle, appreciate you with the $2 hauler. I think I had another. Do we have a celebratory message anywhere? We did not. Do we have any gifted memberships? I don't think we did. Just wanted to make sure I acknowledge those. Drop your new emojis if you see them. We got an Ashton Jeanty emoji. We've got a whole bunch of new emojis right now. So have at those. Let everybody see them so they know what they're missing by not becoming a member of the YouTube exclusive membership, which you can find by clicking the join button on the YouTube main page. Just click that join button, community, and let's go.